Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Alex and Things podcast. I'm your host, Alex Wing. What's going on, y'all? I know it's been a minute. Woo. Um, Honestly, it's just been a whole lot of life, man. The usual. You got your own responsibilities with like everyday grind, whether it's errands, work, self care. Um, you just got a lot of stuff that's on your plate, and sometimes it catches up to you, and then you're not able to meet everything that you want to complete and or fulfill, whatever the case may be. And that's just kind of how my life has been up until recently, but it has been getting better. Also with like WNBA season and NBA playoff season kind of like coexisting, I've had to like keep up with like the sports and everything. Just make sure I'm not missing out too much. But yeah, man, hope everybody's been well as usual, man. Hope everybody's been grinding, taking care of themselves, doing everything they need to do to continue pushing forward, man. As always, I'm really excited to be back for another episode, and I look forward to continuing to put out these conversations and um, connect with y'all even more. So yeah, y'all. Today we are on episode 10, which is crazy. Finally on episode 10. It took a lot of time and effort, but just hella grateful to even be able to um, create this conversation and ultimately share it with y'all. So today we're going to be talking about a lot of interesting things. We're going to be talking about hobbyist or hobbies, if that's the better way to put it. Um, Kind of the public perception, kind of how um, a lot of these hobbies, a lot of these hobbies are like personal to me and mean a lot to me. And it's kind of like been this thing where a lot of these things kind of were not as accepted as much back in the day, but as like generations like grow and change, and we've had to meet like different people of different ages and times, it's kind of been like a butting of heads for like good and bad. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well, and share a little bit of insight and experience from my own experiences about what it's been like to have the hobbies and interests that I do, and then kind of have them become as popularized and as accepted as they have been. Also, hobbyist public perception, and also the NBA finals as well. We're going to be talking a little bit about that, previewing it, and yeah, man, trying to figure out who the next champion is going to be, since Lakers won it last year. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, but yeah, I mean, honestly, the Lakers losing, just real quick, the Lakers losing doesn't make me feel as bad because like I predicted that the Nets and the Lakers would go to the finals, and I'm not even that upset because like the teams that beat the Nets and the Lakers are in the finals, so I don't feel that bad about it. So that's really cool, man. So yeah, yeah, that's pretty much everything that we're going to be talking about today, and I don't have really much to talk about beforehand, so we're just gonna get straight into the episode. So let's get right into it. So yeah, y'all, as I talked about, we're gonna be talking about hobbies, hobbyists, people that have like their own interests and unique distinctions that kind of separate them from other people. Like, what do we like to do? What do we like to eat? How do we operate when nobody's watching? So and so. Having a multitude of hobbies was kind of something that I realized was going to be very important at a young age, because when I was on the playground as a kid, I would often find myself at times usually be alone, or I would be like with a friend or two. And something that I used to do a lot of, that the pandemic kind of like brought me back into a little bit, was playing with trading cards. And it's pretty interesting how trading cards have become this like enormous like community and like topic of conversation in 2020, 2021, 2020 to 2021, pretty much. back when I was a kid and I used to, play trading cards on my own or with like some of my young friends, we was like kids, toddlers, whatever you are when, you're in like kindergarten, first grade, whatever that is. It's crazy because trading cards are like nowadays, just real quick, there's like this thing called NFTs, which is pretty much like digital assets. And it just makes me think that, wow, we've really come a long way from just having physical copies of like these cards and collectibles in our hands of the things that we like, whether it's like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, sports, or like, Digimon, all those different shades that carried those physical handheld collectibles that you could get for yourself. I remember a lot of those days where it was just like, because that's kind of like the environment that I grew up in, a lot of like anime and like um liking those kind of like collectibles and toys. I kind of realized that was probably going to be the route that I go down because like those things really, meant a lot to me and they affected a lot of my behaviors in unique ways. It's crazy because as I got older, I kept on going on with trading cards, but as I got older, I was fortunate enough to be able to jump into video games, which I mean, video games is kind of like a mixed for me. It's kind of like something that I have mixed feelings about, but like I'm really happy that I was able to even play video games at a young age because like it gave me a lot of ability to socialize and meet other people and obviously playing online and just spending time doing something that you enjoy with other people that mean something to you. The thing about video games is like there's a whole bunch of different conversations you can have, like oh, is it good to let kids play games? All the screen time is that bad? Like these are conversations that I've heard a lot more in like as I've gotten older, which I definitely understand. But for the sake of this particular conversation, it's just mainly about like the hobby, playing video games in general. For me, being able to play video games and like socialize and play with my friends, just doing something that we enjoy, it was really cool because it was another medium for us to connect and kind of immerse ourselves within. Video games kind of give you like that illusion of what it would be in real life if you could like do whatever you were doing in the game in real life. This is what it would look like. And we just got the opportunity to, simulate it through playing those games that we were playing, whether it was like role play games, adventure games, first person action or shooter, whatever the case may be, fun storytelling games, story based games, family type family type games, board games, whatever the case may be. There were so many ways to simulate that fun and that experience that we would try and emulate in real life. That's why we have video games. And my thing about hobbies, it was kind of like this, like I said, this kind of like I mentioned earlier, this kind of butting of heads when it came to different age groups, different generations. I feel like that's really what it was the most from my own personal experience because people that were older than me when I was a kid were not that accepting of like very distinct and unique hobbies that literally nobody did, literally little to nobody did. And I don't want to sound like that person that was the only one affected, but that's definitely what it felt like a lot of days because like it was kind of like you were in like your own little corner of like the large room. Nobody was really going to see you, nobody was really going to feel you, that type of thing. So that's why I say it's crazy because we've come a very long way and obviously like the times have changed, ideas have changed, people have, continued to evolve how they feel, how they think, so and so. So with things such as trading cards, video games, even watching anime, like that's another thing I wanted to talk about as well. Like watching anime and like reading manga. Like I grew up on a lot of that stuff, man, and like it's crazy because I watched a lot of anime, manga, and all these different these different kind of cartoons and stories. I didn't really grow up watching a lot of reality TV. I did watch a lot of movies though. Like um my dad, he put me onto a lot of like action stuff, which I had no clue about when I was a kid, but I realized that was probably the primary like snippet of like non-anime or non-cartoon stuff that I was able to watch when I was younger. Obviously that's different now as I've gotten older and I'm, watching a whole bunch of different stuff now, but it was different when you was a kid, man. Like when you're a kid, all you watching is all this children child-based content and stuff like that. The thing about yeah, but yeah, like what I was saying though, with things like watching anime, reading manga, playing games, collecting trading cards, there was like that clash of like interest and kind of like that deferring of opinions when it came to different age groups, different generations, just a different era pretty much. I think that's like the best way to put it. Just different eras. People that were older than me when I was like elementary, middle school age, they they weren't really, or at least from what I went through, it wasn't as accepting and it wasn't as much of like being embraced. At least if I was being embraced, it was more like, oh, you're really different and like that's not that cool. It was kind of like a uh it was kind of like it wasn't I didn't really understand a lot as a kid when it came to like social interaction, social cues, and just communication in general, because like that's really advanced stuff unless you were taught that, which I had really no clue about. I just went to school, I did my work, and I stayed out the way, to be honest, which is kind of the root of this conversation, like me just staying out the way and doing what I do. Um, so it wasn't really as accepted at that time because people just didn't like it. It wasn't popular, and it just wasn't something that at that time, with our level of like I think accessibility to like connect with others, it made it more difficult to like appreciate things like these different hobbies. So as the times changed, like we had more access to like social media and all these different other social media platforms where we could have that creative interactions. And as time went on, I feel like each era, each generation learned how to, in their own way, respect differences amongst other people, whether you were like the most serious person on earth or if you were like the most quiet, like if you were the most like quiet, like nerd in the world, like everyone from like the entire spectrum could have like their own respect and level of understanding from like whatever, is generally acceptable in society. So that's kind of where like perspective and like being unique kind of goes wrong because everybody swears they know everybody, and like I'm not one of those people that like to go out on a limb and just categorize everybody as everybody because that's not really that's not really accurate unless like you're speaking from your own experiences and people that you've met and or known. So honestly, that's just where I try to keep it because I only know what I've been through and I've only seen what I've been through unless other people have shared, their unique stories with me. And I just try to stay stay in my lane as much as I can because that's the best way to, ultimately tell your story. Because when you start trying to be somebody that's not you, then that's when you start I don't want to say losing your credibility, but that's where you start kind of getting that questionable feeling when you listen to somebody else talking like that. So I just feel like people they learn to accept like the creative storytelling and energy that came with like make believe cartoons that really took storytelling to another level with anime and manga. You got um, this globally distributed like um, content, if that's the best way to put it. These shows they're distributed through video episodes and books, if that's the best way to put it, which they refer to as manga. You could read and watch all the stuff in so many different places. And I just feel like as people started to become more aware of it, it was easier to kind of like immerse yourself within that kind of like sector of the world or community. And as that happened, like people of all age groups started like coming together a little bit more and like kind of started noticing, oh, people are, talking about anime a lot more. People are talking about manga a lot more. Like more people are like, playing video games as like yeah, yeah, that's a really good way to put it, man. Like the era just keep on evolving. People's perspectives and experiences and level of understanding kind of like just grew. Like when the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3 came out, like I mean, was it PlayStation 3? Yeah, I think it was PlayStation 3. I can't remember. Damn, I'm so old now. Holy cow. When the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 came out, um, it was like everybody wanted those consoles. And then the same thing with the few years later when the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One came out. And during the pandemic year, people were forced to stay inside the house a lot more and kind of really reflect and like take a deep look at themselves. Not about everything, but just like when it came to like, doing things like what are we gonna do at home? Like what is there to do at home? There's a lot you can do at home unless you know you're very linear and straightforward and you're kind of dry, you're kind of plain, you don't really like you know you got the game consoles at home, you don't play games, you got the books but you don't read them, you got your iPad or your cell phone, whatever, your laptop, but you don't use it to do anything outside of like just texting and talking to people. Like there's so many things you can do, obviously besides like responsibilities and stuff like that, but there's just so many things you can do in terms of like different interests and stuff like that. And I feel even with not just with how I feel, but like after reading about it, I was really convinced that people started to kind of like not rally, but people just noticed like this is kind of like just how people are and what people like. In 2020, eBay, um, they had a reported increase in their trading card game category. That category went up by like a little over 140%. And they sold like over 4 million cards in the past year, which is incredible, man. Like, excuse me, that's like if you had like 10 people buy something and then it went up like 142%. 100% of 10 is 10%. All right, let me not even do all that. But yeah, y'all get the point, man. Like a lot of people were reminded of like, for me, like I said it in a previous YouTube video of mine, people either had to respark like an old fire or kind of like ignite like a new fire when it came to rediscovering yourself during the pandemic. Hence why, like I'm really enjoying, creating content, whether it's, my YouTube videos, this podcast, all that good stuff, man. So eBay sold like over 4 million cards and like, the hype train is still rolling, man. Like it's just crazy to it's crazy to be able to, live during a time like this where, so many people are like not thinking the same way, but like everyone's kind of like in harmony with like something as like really cool as like, collecting trading cards. And like I said earlier, there's so many different categories of trading cards you can collect. There's cartoons like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Digimon, and sports. That's like the main group of trading cards that people mainly look to collect and or trade. Hence, trading card game. And same thing with video games, man. Like speaking of content, like I also like started streaming on Twitch because like I love video games and like I just wanted more to do during the pandemic to keep myself engaged and like in tune with the things that I really love. So I saw that Twitch in like February 2020, they had like three a little over 3 million streamers in February 2020. Fast forward to February 2021, they had February 2021, they had over 9 million streamers or broadcasters in February 2021. Like it was just really crazy, man. And I was like reading that, I was like, wow, like that is so insane. And to be able to see like everyone kind of like grow and like accept everyone has their unique way of like um in what I'm talking about, everyone has their own unique way of like telling a story, creating content, or interacting with the world, whatever the case may be. Like also going back to like trading cards, man. Like I mentioned earlier, one thing that I also do is I collect NBA Top Shot, and pretty much what they are is pretty much just digital assets of like moments that you can own a virtual copy of. You can own virtual moments that have happened in like the NBA, and then you can utilize them as you please, based on like the Top Shot market. And it's pretty much honestly like I was talking to my bros about it, and honestly it's just like the Pokemon video game, man. Like when you're trading like Pokemon, you're trading like these digital assets and these things that you have in a virtual world. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much what like how I thought about it, to keep it as like plain as possible. It's pretty much like if you had a real trading card, just put it into your computer screen, and now it's a virtual asset. That's pretty much how I think of it, and that's pretty much how it works when people sell and or trade so and so assets. That's kind of like the fascinating part about it for me, because like being someone that's like collected and played exchange trading cards for a long time, it's just very cool to see how our world has evolved into like something as unique as NFTs, and then trading cards, like real trading cards, are um still very popular, and like they grew so much over the past year. And yeah, man, that's kind of the main thing that I really want to talk about, just because there was a time, man, when I was younger, and like my little circle of friends, if you want to even call it that, um we just we just rolled a little bit differently, man. And like it wasn't heard or felt the same, because obviously one big thing that really affected it was like advancing of technology, like having social media, and just being that generation that really loved those kind of hobbies. That I feel like those are the main differences that really affected people's perception, whether they were unaccepting of it, or if they embraced it and they accepted different kind of people like myself and whomever else when we were a little bit younger. So yeah, man, it's really meaningful to me to be able to see other people, being able to see people like myself and a whole bunch of other people, trying to see that everybody has more than like one side to them, and everybody carries a lot of unique niches and ways of expressing themselves. They carry different things about themselves. I feel like this is also one thing I'm really happy I did remember to mention, because I was about to forget it. This I feel like people not accepting people that have really unique niches and like things that they like back in the day, because nowadays it's like it's more accepted, so like people aren't as like stressed about it or worried about it. But like back in the day, you can even say it's still a thing now with certain people who still don't feel like socially like comfortable or acceptable, whatever the case may be. This is why people like hold secrets about themselves, or like they hide things about themselves, and they like they put that to the side or put that in the back of their mind, because they don't want to share certain things about themselves that people either haven't really seen before, heard before, or had any experience with before. And like in terms of hobbies, I feel like that was kind of what, along with everything else that I mentioned, that's kind of one thing that kind of held back certain people, such as myself, because I just wasn't really sure who was accepting of all sides of me. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm really glad to see people are just I mean, to put it simply, in a cliche way, people are just riding the wave, man, and like, it's good. Because there's always something hot, and people they wanna be in the know with things, and they want to be a part of it. But however, just like with like real world history, you always gotta know where things came from, and kind of where they started and or originated, or how they just evolved over those different eras. And that's just something that I really wanted to talk about, just because it meant so much to me as a kid, and it's still a big part of my life. It's gonna be a big part of my life until God forbid I leave this earth, or so and so. But it's just one of those things where I'm really happy that people learned about what other people like, and no matter how drastically different it may be, you can find a way to meet somebody where they're at, and then you can ultimately learn something about them, whether it's something that you've never heard of before, or like you did before, like in terms of hobbies. If you've never collected this, or you never played games or whatever, you never went outside, and you didn't really have friends, whatever it is, you and so and so person, you can help immerse one another in different worlds, or different parts of the world that you or they have not seen before, so that everybody wins. Everybody can learn something new. Everybody can integrate themselves in experiences they have not before. And then we all have something new that we really appreciate, and ultimately we can hold on to, because those are the kind of interactions, like when you're learning something and meeting somebody in their own world. Like, I feel like those are the most like authentic and like genuine kind of relationships and or connections, just because you're really trying to tap into somebody at their core, like at the core of their being type stuff. And that's not something you always do, because people, like I mentioned, even I have this thing sometimes too, depending on who I'm talking to. Like, I'm not always going, let somebody through every single door, because sometimes people just don't know. People aren't really interested. It's not something that people are comfortable with, don't know about. So you kind of just reserve it for whoever is really willing to meet you there, and see you there, whether it's like a place you feel like you're vulnerable, or at a place where you feel a great amount of strength, whatever the case may be. It really just depends on who's willing to look at you in your eye and say, yo man, or yo friend, you know what I'm saying, I'm trying to learn more about you, I'm trying to really be your friend, I'm trying to be a friend, I'm trying to get to know who you are, what you like. And you can't really fault somebody for having unique niches and things that they like, because everybody's weird in their own way, man. And like, that's the good thing about us. Like, we have a strong side to us, like a vulnerable side to us, and we all have our own weird things, weird, quirky things. We have our own weird, quirky things that, make us who we are. But that should never erase that should never erase our ability to, like, appreciate all that we are, no matter how different it may seem to like the outside world. Because at the end of the day, you really only just have you and the things that you love, along with the people that are willing to ride it out with you and appreciate you for all that you are. Because honestly, man, like, look at how far anime and manga has come, man. Like, I don't want to go back and like keep on rambling about it, but man, look how far anime and manga has come. Everybody loves it. Back when I was a kid, it wasn't like that. That's all I'm gonna say about that right now, man. But I'm just really happy people can, use anime and manga, video games, everything, to, find newer ways to express themselves, and, just be social and interact, man, and connect. Like, that's the most important thing. We're humans, we're social creatures. We have a natural knack for trying to, be in touch with one another. That's why, like FaceTime is so cool. Like, Zoom calls are cool. Like, they help you feel like, you're still a part of somebody's life. And it's in a unique way. Like, it's just a face to face conversation. Just like how video games are you and somebody, simulating through a virtual world, doing missions, objectives, or playing sports, whatever the case may be, man. So I really love how the public perception has changed over time, and it started to um, be more accepting of like people that have these really unique and distinct hobbies because there was a time and there was an age where it wasn't always like that. So that's just something I really wanted to share because it really means so much to me. And you know, these are things that I like I mentioned before. These are things I still do to this day, not just for my own joy and like pleasure, entertainment, but it's something that I really feel like can help people learn about myself. And you know, I feel like it can help people connect with me in different ways because you know, there's so many ways to connect with people, man, and it's not just your hobbies. But yeah, but hobbies are definitely a big part of it for somebody like me because I just enjoy a lot of stuff, man, and there's just so much to appreciate about life. Why wouldn't you want to go out there and you know try to find your niche and find the things that you love and try to come together with somebody else and learn about all those different things that make you who you are, you know, all sides of you type of stuff. But yeah, man, hobbyist and the public conversation and like the perception of it, that's something that I'm really grateful for that people have come to um, generally accept a lot more in this day and age, which is really awesome, man. As I mentioned earlier, y'all, I did also want to talk really quickly about previewing the NBA Finals. Man, like I said, y'all, I predicted the Nets and the Lakers, right? But hey, we still the champions until they come somebody new, so I'm not even about to hold y'all. But yeah, man, somebody got to take our crown, and you know we'll be back for it next year. But all right, I gotta let it go and you know let this year happen the way that it's going to, man. It's gonna be a good finals though. I really feel like it's gonna be a great series. I hope it goes, you know, 6 or 7. And yeah, man, Suns, Bucks, like the Suns are pretty much healthy. They're looking at all cylinders, and the Bucks, man, they're kind of a little banged up, man. Giannis Antetokounmpo, scary ass knee injury, man. Holy cow! Like that jump, I've watched that jump a couple times, and like, man, I really don't like watching sports injuries, but like, I can't even say try to put myself in other people's shoes, but man, like you just watch things and you kind of play that image through your head and try to simulate what it would feel like, but you can never simulate, you know, things like other people's, you know, pain and like stuff like that, man. It's just it is so extreme. And with injuries, like those literally like affect like not just you physically, but mentally and emotionally and spiritually. But man, they say Giannis, he's questionable or doubtful or something like that to play in the series or whatever. So hopefully he plays, man. I mean, I'd be surprised if they even let him play at all because like that jump, if y'all see his injury, that jump look really scary. So yeah, I'm thinking if Giannis is healthy and he can, you know, do his thing at like 85, 80%, that's maybe even like that's cutting it very close. But if Giannis is like 80, 85% and he's playing like it, I feel like the Bucks they win in 6 because I feel like this is what Brandon Jennings he said. Anybody that knows Brandon Jennings, he used to play for the Bucks and like he had this. I feel like well, I feel like that's exactly why it is. But for anyone that doesn't know, saying Bucks and 6. It was because of Brandon Jennings. Like he said Bucks and 6 one time when they went to the playoffs. I can't remember if they won or lost that series. I feel like they lost, but I mean I feel like they might have won, but I definitely feel like they lost. But yeah, man. That's why the saying is so funny and popular. But now the Bucks are good, so like Bucks and 6 is not like as funny because like they might actually go and win the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? So if Giannis is healthy, I feel like the Bucks will win. But like if Giannis is like even like 79%, the Suns are gonna the Suns might destroy them. I'm telling you, man. Like the Suns have a team full of killers, man. I'm telling you. Like the Bucks got some killers too, man. But right now, like the Suns as a team, they're just playing so much better than everybody else, and it's not even close. And the Bucks, like their lead dogs, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, they're playing really good right now. But man, if you don't have Giannis, it's gonna be trouble, man. Giannis is that guy, man. Like he's really good to me. People don't like his inability to shoot free throws or 3 pointers and all that, but like there's more than one way to dominate like in a field like sports. And with the amount of content that like basketball has on the internet, like it makes fans feel like, you know, they know everything about the game and all that. But it's a lot more than what you just see on, on these NBA games and stuff like that. So, but yeah, man, I really feel like look, man, it's crazy because Giannis is hurt. Like nobody wants to make like a iffy prediction or like an and or prediction. Like, but and I'm not one of those people, man. Like I don't like doing that. But man, like it's Giannis is a big deal, man. So if he's healthy, I feel like the Bucks win. But if he's not, the Suns might run them boys out the building for real. Because they've been destroying everybody, man. Like 4-2, my Lakers. They swept the Nuggets 4-2, the other LA team. Now here they are in the finals, man. So I'm really looking forward to the series either way because like I know it's going to be a great series. It's also really dope that two non major markets or small town markets, is that the saying? Two small market teams are in the finals and like their fan base gets like that recognition on the big stage. Oh, the Bucks are in the finals. Milwaukee fans are feeling good. Phoenix fans the same way. Um, yeah, man, it's crazy. The Bucks haven't been to the finals in like almost 3, 4 some decades, and the Suns they haven't been in the finals for like 90s was like 2, 1, 2, yeah, like 20 something years now. It's really crazy. So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to seeing Devin Booker go to work, man. CP3, like one of my favorite players ever to watch, man. He's been so good ever since he came into the league, and like it's crazy. This day is really coming for him. So it would be crazy if the Suns won, man. Like Devin Booker, as young as he is, he's about to get that first ring if possible. And then CP, like as a veteran man, 16 years in this league, always been one of the best players. Had a lot of ups and downs, but man, this would be crazy. And then like the Bucks, they've been a title contender for a few years now, and like people have been waiting to see them break out. And when they beat the Nets, man, I was just like, yo, this really might be it right here, man. And same thing when the Suns beat the Lakers, I was like, hell, man, that's crazy. But I'm really happy that even though my initial prediction went wrong, I'm happy that the teams that beat the teams that I predicted to be in the finals, I'm happy that those teams are in the finals. So I know it's going to be a great series. And yeah, man, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about. If y'all have any thoughts on, hobbies, hobbyists, public perception of these different hobbies and different people, or even the NBA finals, WNBA season, any sports, to be honest. You have any thoughts or comments, concerns, questions, feelings, whatever it is, my socials are in my anchor bio. And I would love to, share my thoughts with y'all, have a conversation with y'all as always, man. But yeah, as always, I really appreciate all the love and support that y'all give me for, everything that I'm doing. And I just look forward to, hopefully continuing to be able to be consistent with, trying to continue to find these ways to stay present and like continue building on all these different projects that I want to ultimately put out there and all the different conversations that and interactions that I want to have with everybody, man. So from the Alex and Things podcast, our 10th episode, our 10th conversation on the podcast. Really appreciate y'all, man. Until next time, we'll be back really soon with episode 11 for sure. Till next time, much love and peace, y'all.